The Ultor Mining Complex was a large industrial facility, located in the barren wastelands of Mars. The facility was first established in the year 2050, as a small colony, run by a group of Ultor scientists and technicians, until the facility was expanded into a large mining operation. There were many different areas within the Ultor Mining Complex, some on the surface of the planet, and others deep below in the caves of Mars. The mines. The mines were one of the most dangerous areas of the entire mining complex, located deep underground, in the caves beneath the barren surface of Mars. There were dozens of different sectors within the mines, the largest being Mine Sector M4, which comprised of hundreds of workers, from miners and foremen, to security guards and robots. During the first Martian Revolution, Mine Sector M4 became ground zero for the rebellion, where the miners rose up against the oppressive security guards, leading to the entire sector being sealed off, in an attempt to stop the rebellion from spreading. The Miner Barracks. The barracks were a sector of living facilities, located above Mine Sector M4, and housed both miners and security guards. The barracks were a terrible place to live for many, and some considered them to be worse than the mines. They were dirty, smelly, and graffiti covered most of the walls. To make matters worse, the bunks were shared by multiple miners, and the toilet facilities were disgusting. The barracks also held a small prison cell, for use in detaining miners, a medical facility, managed by a single medic, and a food hall where the workers ate their meals. The security guards also had a small living facility above the miner barracks, containing a number of bunks and lockers, and it also housed a small training facility. Registration Center. The Registration Center was a semi-administrative sector, located above the miner barracks, and part of the main surface facility. The area consisted of a large hall, where miners went to register their details after first arriving on Mars, and it was also the area where miners supposedly could apply for Earth leave, although none would ever be granted it. The sector also contained a tram station, where personnel could board a transport to another sector of the colony. A small medical facility was also located within the sector, managed by a single medic. Docking Bay. The docking bay was a large transport hub, containing two massive bays for space shuttles, and also held a large quantity of crates and supplies. The docking bay contained a large control room, which worked as both flight control and landing access for the entire mining complex. During the first Martian uprising, a group of miners were able to steal a cargo shuttle from the docking bay, and even managed to get it airborne, before being shot down by Ultor's anti-air defense system. Abandoned mines. The abandoned mines were a derelict part of the mining complex, that had been abandoned due to the instability of the sector. The abandoned mines were located in Sector N17, which was rumored to be fairly close to the Red Faction base, which was another derelict and abandoned sector of the colony. The abandoned mines were extremely dangerous, and many cave-ins were known to have occurred, which had left dozens of miners trapped and buried alive. Geothermal Plant. The geothermal plant was one of 4 known power facilities in the Ultor Mining Complex, and supplied the majority of the power to the mines and living facilities. There were a number of different sectors within the geothermal plant, including lava control, water control, and turbine control, all vital to mining operations. The geothermal plant also contained a small submarine bay, which was used as an emergency escape route. During the first Martian uprising, the geothermal plant was attacked by the Red Faction, in an effort to disable Ultor's ability to monitor the miners' movements. The geothermal plant was eventually destroyed by a miner named Parker, who single-handedly sabotaged the entire facility. Underwater Research Facility. The Underwater Research Facility was a small laboratory, located deep in the icy waters below the Martian surface, and close to the geothermal plant. The facility held a small submarine bay, which was used by personnel to travel to and from the facility, a power room, containing a large thermal generator, as well as a control room, where maintenance technicians would monitor the conditions of the sector. The research facility also had a maintenance tram, which was used to reach the nearby Ultor administration sector. Corporate HQ. The corporate HQ was the main administration sector in the Ultor Mining Complex, and had dozens of administrators and technicians, working tirelessly to keep the corporation's illegal activities under wraps. The sector contained dozens of offices, where everything from payroll, recruitment, and propaganda was sent and processed. The sector also contained a number of security technician control rooms, where hundreds of camera feeds were monitored. The sector was also home to both the administrator of the mining complex, as well as the deputy administrator, both whose offices were located on the high secure executive floor. Maintenance Sector. The maintenance sector was a small facility, located near the administration department. The facility had a number of different areas, including a robot repair shop, where various Ultor machines, including maintenance robots, were built, stored and repaired, as well as a large storage facility, which contained large crates, and a smaller storage facility, containing other supplies. The maintenance sector also housed an Ultor fighter, which was used as an escape vehicle for the sector. Trash disposal facility. The trash disposal facility was a large industrial sector, and the main disposal facility for the entire mining complex. The facility was entirely run by machines and automated systems, due to the extremely high temperatures from the disposal pit, making it too dangerous for human workers. The disposal facility was protected by a massive Ultor suppression combat that patrolled the large corridors and killed any unauthorized personnel. The facility was also guarded by smaller robots, who would also attack any intruders present. Medical labs. The medical labs were a sector of research and treatment departments, situated near the trash disposal facility. The medical labs were extremely restricted, with only high-level doctors and medics being allowed access. There were a number of different areas within the medical labs, all with their own purpose and access level, including a recovery department, located near the entrance of the medical labs, which contained a small recovery room, where injured patients could rest after they'd received treatment, a small doctor's office, where paperwork and lab coats were stored, as well as a nurse's station, where medical supplies were sorted and distributed. A small operating room was also located in the department, where minor surgeries were conducted, as well as a large treatment room, where multiple patients were kept in observation. A security checkpoint was located close to the treatment room, and separated the wing from the other part of the medical facility. A small freezing room was located close to the security checkpoint, and was used to store bags of blood and other medical supplies. The second wing of the medical facility contained a large operating room, which was used for major surgeries, and also had an observation window, which allowed medical students and board directors to observe the critical operations. The medical lab administrator also had an office in this area, which was used for recruitment, signing contracts, and dealing with department expenses. Level F2 contained a high secure lab, which was managed by Axel Capex, the head Ultor scientist on Mars. The area was only accessible via an elevator, which was locked to most personnel, unless they had the highest clearance level possible. The lab itself was extremely secretive, and highly contagious due to the multiple experiments that Capex had been conducting there. Capex Caves. Capex Caves were a large network of subterranean tunnels, located deep underneath the mining complex, and were one of the few areas in the colony that were not monitored by security cameras. The caves were infested with reapers, mutated creatures that were created by Axel Capex, using nanotechnology. Many workers were known to have disappeared within the caves, butchered by Capex's hideous creatures, and abandoned by the corporation. Capex Zoo. Capex Zoo was a secret facility located within the caves. Unknown to many, Capex held dozens of his Reaper creatures within the facility, which he would use to hunt down and kill miners. Capex also used the facility to imprison human mutants, which were kept in a large observation room. A gigantic mutant worm was also kept within Capex Zoo, inside a large cavern, which was used to guard the entrance to Capex's hidden underground fortress. Capex Inner Sanctum. Capex Inner Sanctum was a secret laboratory, located deep underneath the colony. Its existence was only known to a select few, and all personnel working there were extremely loyal to the company. There were several different locations within the Inner Sanctum, including a service hall, where experiments were brought in and out of the facility, a mutant observation room, where a number of Reaper creatures were kept inside cages. The Inner Sanctum also contained a computer lab, where scientists would log the results from the failed experiments, as well as a medical facility, where victims of the plague were monitored. The facility also held a security technician station, where dozens of camera feeds could be monitored, as well as Capex's main audience chamber, where the scientist conducted the majority of his experiments. Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was a large uninhabited area, located on the outskirts of the mining complex. The area consisted of a large mountainous terrain, with dangerous subterranean caves. The Ultor Corporation built a large security checkpoint in the area, consisting of 2 guard towers, and a thick concrete wall, which acted as the perimeter to Capex's secret laboratory. The canyon also contained a small sewage processing facility, managed by 2 maintenance workers, which connected to a large cavern, infested with Capex Reaper mutants. A small cable car was also installed, high above the canyon, to transport workers back from the sewage facility, to the main colony. Communication Center. The Communication Center was a large satellite tower, located at the top of the canyon. The center was heavily guarded, and had a number of security checkpoints throughout the facility, as well as ceiling turrets that would attack any intruders on site. The Communication Center was capable of transmitting long-range messages to Earth, and to other nearby colonies that Ultor had established. During the first Martian Revolution, a miner named Parker was able to infiltrate the communication center, and send an SOS message to the Earth Defense Force, using the tower's satellite dish to broadcast. Missile Command Center. The Missile Command Center was a small facility, located close to the Ultor docking bay, and was primarily used for defense purposes. The facility was managed by a small team of technicians, who would maintain the equipment and missiles needed for the silos. During the beginning of the First Martian Revolution, a group of miners hijacked a shuttle from the Ultor docking bay, but were immediately shot down by anti-air missiles, which were fired directly from the Missile Command Center, destroying the shuttle and killing all of the miners. Spaceport. The spaceport was a large docking facility, used for space shuttles to stop and refuel, repair, and deliver cargo. The facility was heavily guarded by experienced security personnel, as well as elite mercenary troops, who were extremely loyal to the Ultor Corporation. The facility was also used to transport cargo to different sectors of the colony, eliminating the need for workers to deliver equipment themselves. Mercenary Base. The Mercenary Base was a large fortress, located deep within the caves of Mars, and far away from the mining complex itself. The facility was used by the Masako Regiment, a group of highly skilled mercenaries, who were being kept in reserve by the Ultor Corporation. The facility itself was massive, with multiple sectors and dozens of personnel. The Mercenary Base contained a small prison facility, which was used to detain miners, as well as other personnel, who trespassed within the mercenary territory. The base also contained a number of dormitories for the mercs, where they would sleep, train, and store their equipment. A small cafeteria was also located within the base, which allowed the mercs access to warm meals, and luxuries such as beer and other alcohol. The mercenaries also had a large cleaning facility, where both toilets and showers were available, with no restrictions on time limits, unlike the miner barracks. The facility also contained a command center, which consisted of computer terminals and servers, which technicians would constantly monitor, to ensure the security of the facility. A generator room was also located on the bottom floor of the mercenary base, and supplied all of the power to the facility. A large docking bay was also attached to the mercenary base, and housed dozens of easier fighters, as well as the mercenaries' main starship, which belonged to the infamous Colonel Masako. After the fall of the Ultor Corporation, the mining complex was left mostly abandoned, with its secrets left buried beneath the Martian surface.